NBA basketball. That's Eddie's favorite sport. Eddie, so what are some off-season transactions in terms of what are some of the biggest moves? And on the flip side, what are some of the moves you think are, huh? You can't pay that guy that much money? Really? So how do you see these moves in off-season? What do you see as some of the good ones versus some of the bad ones? Because the
So
season's
before
getting ready to kick off in
Oh
October,
yeah,
right?
and before we even get into this segment, I wasn't watching the Monday Night Football game. I was kind of switching channels back and forth between the Spurs and the Oklahoma City preseason game because
Ah,
that
there you
was where
go.
Victor Wembanyama was playing against Chet Holmgren, and this is two people that we
Oh,
talked about, right? So,
right.
and let me tell you, that was entertaining. They both played very well. Actually, Chet Holmgren scored 21 points and Wembanyama scored 20 points. They both showed their skill set in full effect. They both had blocks. Wembanyama, I think, had two steals along with those 20 points. Chet Holmgren had 9 rebounds, and then Wembanyama had 5. So Chet Holmgren looks like he's put on some poundage too. I mean, I think he was probably like a buck 85, at 7'1" when he was at Gonzaga, but now he's like 202, so he put like 17 pounds. At least that's what it looks like. He looked a lot bigger, and Wembanyama very skilled. You got to see some. If you pull some of the highlights from tonight's game, he really showed some really skillful moves, especially on the fast break. On defense, he stole like 2 balls, block shots. He was a presence out there. So I'm very excited to see this guy play, and it's interesting to see how they utilized him because we were talking about in the past podcast. Wembanyama is like this skinny frame, right? I mean, he's not going to
Right.
survive if he's going to be a center in the NBA. But I think what they're doing is they're playing him like a small forward. He's playing on the perimeter, right? To utilize his skill set as a guy who can shoot and dribble,
Mhm.
and then they use him as a center on the defensive end. So they kind of they cross mix whatever his defense and offensive skill sets, right? So that was interesting. The same thing they're doing with Chet Holmgren. They all play in the perimeter. So I just wanted to bring
That's
that
what
up
I thought
because
would happen, Eddie. I thought that
yeah,
would happen because when I saw Wembayama play, is that how you pronounce it? Wembayama?
Wembanyama.
Wembayama play. That was the first thing that struck me was like, oh my God, this guy's 7 foot, man, but he plays like somebody at 6'5", 6'6",
Yeah,
with
yeah.
that type of skill. And so that makes perfect sense. I worry about Chet. That's a one serious white guy, man. Looking against that bright basketball parquet floor there, we may not see him.
Oh, right, right. But anyway, so I
Oh
wanted
my
to get
gosh.
into that first, Guillermo, about the two players that we talked about in the past podcast. But as far as the most notable free agent transactions that happened this year, I'll answer your question this way. The first one that really made a big splash, the first one that we heard about was Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal going to
Hmm.
the Phoenix Suns to go ahead and team up with Devin Booker and Durant. I mean, that's essentially how Durant won his first title was with the Warriors when they had these two great shooting players in Klay Thompson and Stephen Curry, and now he's going to be teamed up with the same kind of type of player, right? Devin Booker's a sharpshooter, and Bradley
Okay,
Beal's
hold
a
on, hold on. So
Mhm.
you're saying that the Suns with this move can compete for a championship?
Absolutely. Absolutely, they can.
Outstanding. Yeah.
Absolutely, they can. And then they also, they lost DeAndre Ayton, but they replenished him with Yusuf Nurkic, who came from the Blazers, and he's a good passing big man, and he can score, he can shoot from the outside. Whereas DeAndre Ayton couldn't do that. He was more of a traditional type of center. They both can play defense roughly about the same. DeAndre Ayton, I think, is just a bigger, taller guy, but Nurkic is a more skilled center, and it's amazing that Nurkic and Jokic played together on the same team, on the
Yeah.
Denver Nuggets, right? So, but anyway, so I think the Bradley Beal one was the first one to make a big splash, and then that guy, then Chris Paul, right? Chris Paul going to the Warriors, right?
Yeah.
The whole experiment with Jordan Poole unfortunately fizzled out after Draymond, clocked him last year, and
Yeah.
they weren't the same. So they had to get him out and trade him. And what they got back is this, the 38-year-old Chris Paul who doesn't have a title, but he can man the second unit, and he's already essentially fessed up that he's okay to come off the bench. Which a lot of people were concerned that his ego wasn't going to let him do that, right? He wanted to go
Yeah.
out there and be a starter. He's a veteran, but he knows what it takes to win, and I'm glad he has that attitude. And my only concern is how are him and Draymond going to get along, right? Because Draymond's
Yeah.
a big personality, Chris Paul's a big personality. So then the move that happened is Kristaps Porzingis going to the Celtics. Kristaps Porzingis to the Celtics was a very interesting move, because He's a very skilled big man, 7'4". He can shoot. Very similar skill set to Chet Holmgren, but I would say that he posts up a little bit more than Chet Holmgren. But I think that him going to the Celtics is a very interesting move. And then the Celtics brought in a Drew Holiday, from the Bucks. Actually he was from the Blazers, and they got traded from the Bucks to the Blazers. And then the Blazers, traded to the Celtics. And those two guys, along with Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. Yeah, I mean that foursome right there is very, very formidable. The only thing is that the Celtics lost Marcus Smart, who I think was a big identity for them. He was a very
Right.
hard nosed, strong player, defensive player of the year type. But Drew Holiday is just as good defensively and better offensively than Marcus Smart. So that loss isn't that significant, or it could have been as it could have been, if they had not gotten Drew Holiday. So and then last one that I think supplanted all of them was Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard
Yeah.
going to the Bucks to team up with the Giannis Antetokounmpo, that is going to be a pick and roll nightmare for everybody in the league. And then Brooke Lopez is there as a defensive presence. He's also a very good offensive player. They brought his brother Robin Lopez, right, to kind of make him a little bit warm and fuzzies to have his brother on his team, right? So that's always a good
Right.
support move, for a guy like Brooke Lopez. But they lost, the Bucks lost Grayson Allen along with Drew Holiday, but
Right. He was part of that trade.
right, he was part of that trade. So and Grayson Allen also joins Bradley Beal, with the Phoenix Suns. So that makes them a
Hmm.
pretty formidable pairing over there as well. But they also get Malik Beasley, who was kind of one of these Vinnie Johnson microwave hot players to shoot can shoot the rock at any time, and he killed the Warriors in the playoffs last year. So I remember Malik Beasley. So anyway, that's kind of a sneaky move, but those are the main ones that I just mentioned as all the big offseason moves were Bradley Beal, Chris Paul, Damian Lillard, Drew Holiday, and Kristaps Porzingis. Those are the big ones that I would say that they're the most significant.
Okay, so let me ask you this question though. Based off all these moves, and we're not going to hold you to it because it's speculation,
Yep.
but based off all these moves, based off your knowledge of basketball, who do you see as the top four? Meaning, who's going to be in the finals for each conference
All
if
right.
you had to pick him today?
So I'm going to go ahead and take you through this. So I'm going to go through the East first. In the East, there are four teams that I think are the teams to beat, and they're the Celtics. I think they're the favorite in my opinion. The Bucks, I think, are probably number two, and then I would say the Heat are number three, and then the Sixers at number four. The Sixers, they have a very dominant center in Joel Embiid, but they also have a disgruntled James Harden, right? And James Harden, he wants out there, right? But I think they want to keep him because he has a good, he plays well with Joel Embiid.
Well,
The
hold on,
thing,
Eddie. Who
yeah,
wants James Harden? I mean, James Harden to me
no,
is the
no,
type of guy who can come into your locker room and destroy what is a potential finals team. That's how I look at James Harden now. I don't look at James Harden as any positive anymore because of his age, how much he slowed down, and his laziness on the court. And that's been well documented.
yeah.
I can see the Sixers contending with Harden, but my question to you is, what? I mean, I'm sure a lot of teams would want him, but what team can he really go to and contribute and take them to the championship that the team actually needs him?
It's interesting that maybe he can go back to his Houston Rockets where he started his career because the Houston Rockets are an up and coming team. They're a team that I was going to go ahead and mention later, but I kind of put it as contenders, on the cusp, and then
That's what I'd
teams to
say.
watch, right? But the Houston Rockets have acquired quite a bit, a lot of they have good young talent on the Rockets. They
But
have
he's on the wrong side of 30. I mean, he's not there
yeah.
for a rebuild. He wants to win now.
Yeah. But the thing is that but the thing is that team would probably could use him and probably would want him honestly. They have Fred Van Fleet there, right? And Fred Van Fleet is a good player. So you team him up with James Harden. They also have a Dylan Brooks there as a veteran, and then you team him up with the already established core of Jalen Green, Kevin Porter, Cam Whitmore, Jabari Smith. I mean, that's a pretty formidable up and coming team to watch out for. So I think that would be a team that James Harden. I think that he could be a good fit for him. But I think he should stay with the Sixers and just try and try and win a championship with them because I think him staying on the Sixers gives the Sixers a better chance of winning unless they get
I think he
somebody.
lied about Morey. I think he just flat out lied by Morey to say that to get him out of Philly. Yeah,
Yeah,
Morey's treated him very well.
I know.
Is that how you say Daryl Morey?
Daryl
Yeah, I mean
Morey.
he's treated him
Morey,
very
yeah.
well, giving him all the money he's won. Morey. Yeah,
Yeah,
Maury's giving him all the money he's ever asked for this. See, that's why I don't like him. He's not a team player. He's all about himself, and I think he's the worst type of person to have in any professional sports. He doesn't appreciate his God-given talent, is arrogant, and is not well liked by many. Yeah.
yeah,
All right. So
yeah.
if I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying the Celtics and Bucks. Yeah. What about the
Celtics, Celtics,
Western?
Bucks, Heat, Celtics, Bucks, Heat, Sixers, and the teams I have on the cusp are the
But if you had to
Cavaliers.
pick two for the final,
Yeah, for the
hold
final,
on, two. So who would you pick for the?
for the finals, I will say the Celtics for sure out of the East, and then in the
Okay, so
West,
you're saying the Celtics will beat the Bucks
yes,
in
yes,
in the Eastern. Eastern. Okay, so let's
yeah,
move over to the Western Conference then. I'm
okay.
not going to ask you to see who wins it all. It's too tough too early right now. But so out of the Western Conference, who do you see as your final four?
Final four are going to be the Nuggets for sure. The Suns,
Hmm.
I think they're going to be there as well. The Warriors, and I'm not saying that just because I'm a homer. They
Oh
actually are
yeah, I
still
mean they're a
good.
dynasty.
They're still
Yeah,
good. They're still good, and they added
exactly,
some
exactly.
players on their team that I think can take them over the edge. And they made it to the not the finals, but the divisional last year when they were in complete disarray, and that just shows how good that team really is. If they're all functioning like they should, they're a contender. So, and I think bringing Chris Paul makes them a contender, along with some other guys like Corey Joseph and Darius Saric. So, the Lakers are the other team I think that are a team to watch. I mean, it's interesting that the top four in the East and the top four in the West, two teams in each of these, or one team in each of these conferences, were from the play-in tournament, right? So if we had not had the play-in tournament, we would not see, we wouldn't have these guys as guys to watch out for contenders this year because they wouldn't have been able to get to the finals or even the conference finals. Actually, both of them got to the finals. So that's interesting that the play-in tournament was a success in bringing two play-in tournament guys into the finals in their respective conferences. So the Lakers are a dangerous team. They scare me as a Warrior fan the most because it's all about matchups in the NBA, and
Right,
they are a
right.
matchup nightmare for the Warriors just because they're so long. They added Gabe Vincent, from the Miami Heat. They added a Christian Wood from the Dallas Mavericks. They Cam Reddish, Torian Prince. They added a lot of good depth to already complement LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Rui Hachimura, Austin Reeves. I mean, they are a team to watch out for, and they scare me. So I would say those are the final four in the West. And then as far as to answer your question, I say Celtics, and then it's going to be for me. It's going to be probably the Nuggets again. If I were to really, twist my arm on that. Although I want to say the Warriors very badly, but I got to be realistic. I think,
Yeah.
the Nuggets are still good. Although the Warriors, I think, would have given them a better finals matchup than the Lakers did because they play the Denver Nuggets well.
Oh man, they destroyed the Lakers. That wasn't even a contest, if I remember
Oh yeah,
correctly.
yeah. I mean, yeah, they
Yeah,
swept them, but they were all competitive games, but they got swept, right? So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So
All
other te-
righty.
other teams
Go
that
ahead.
yeah, I was going to tell you that other teams that I was going to mention that are just up and coming, on the West. The Grizzlies are on the cusp. The New Orleans
Right, right.
Pelicans are on the cusp, and the Minnesota Timberwolves. They're teams that could possibly get into those top four, but a lot of things have to happen. Like maybe a key player from the top four has to fall for one of those guys to go up. And
Those are the
then
teams that are playing for the play-in game.
maybe, or even this in-season tournament, right? We'll see what happens from
Yeah.
that, right? But yeah, and then I already mentioned the Rockets as an up-and-coming team, and the Oklahoma City Thunder are an up-and-coming team in the West. So that pretty much rounds up my talk on the NBA.
There you go, my friend. Some good NBA info.
Hey everybody, this is Big John from Grumblings Media, and I just want to say thank you for watching our content. If you want to support our efforts here at Grumblings Media, just smash the subscribe button right here, totally free, or just go ahead and consume more of our great content. Click either one of these two boxes.